You are not stuck because you are weak, lazy, or unmotivated. You are stuck because something inside you has already expired and you are still carrying it. And the longer you carry it, the more your life quietly suffocates. Welcome back to American Wall Street. If this message resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to the channel and support us. It gives us the motivation to keep creating deeper, more honest videos like this, videos that don't flatter you, but free you. Now listen carefully. Most people believe their problem is a lack of discipline. They think they need more motivation, better habits, stronger willpower, or a clearer plan. So they push harder. They grind more. They add another book, another routine, another promise to try again on Monday. And yet, nothing really changes. Here is the truth no one tells you. You are not failing because you are not doing enough. You are failing because you are carrying too much. You are carrying old identities that once protected you, but now imprison you. You are carrying beliefs that were formed in survival mode, not growth mode. You are carrying emotional armor that helped you endure the past, but is slowly killing your future. You call it who I am, but in reality, it is who you had to be. At some point in your life, being quiet kept you safe. At some point, pleasing others helped you belong. At some point, staying small prevented pain. Those strategies worked once. But survival strategies have an expiration date. And when you keep using expired strategies, they don't protect you anymore. They become dead weight. This is why growth feels exhausting instead of exciting. This is why progress feels heavy instead of energizing. This is why every attempt to change feels like swimming upstream with concrete tied to your ankles. You are trying to build a new life while dragging the emotional debris of an old one. Here is the most uncomfortable realization of all. Your effort is not the problem. Your loyalty is. You are loyal to a version of yourself that no longer exists. You are loyal to old stories about who you are, what you deserve, and how much space you are allowed to take up in the world. You are loyal to pain simply because it is familiar, and familiarity feels safe, even when it is destroying you. The nervous system does not care about your dreams. It only cares about predictability. So when you attempt to grow, to expand, to step into something bigger, your system resists. Not because growth is wrong, but because it is unknown. That resistance does not show up as logic. It shows up as exhaustion, as confusion, as procrastination, as the feeling that something is wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you. You are just trying to evolve while dragging a version of yourself that was never meant to come this far. And here is the sentence that changes everything if you let it sink in. Growth is not about adding more to your life. It is about removing what no longer belongs. Until you are willing to let parts of yourself die, the beliefs, the roles, the identities that once kept you safe, you will keep rebuilding the same life in different forms. You cannot carry the old you into the next chapter. One of them has to go. This is not failure. This is not weakness. This is the necessary funeral of who you used to be. And the moment you understand this, you stop asking, what more do I need to do? You start asking the only question that matters, what do I need to let go of? Before we continue, let me ask you a quick question. Answer honestly in the comments. A, I feel stuck because I believe I'm not doing enough yet. B, I feel stuck because I'm still carrying an old version of myself. Comment A or B below. Your answer says more about where you are in life than you think. What makes this part difficult to accept is that the things holding you back do not look like enemies. They look like habits. They look like personality traits. They look like just how you are. But underneath them is a system that was never designed for growth. It was designed for survival. Your nervous system does not ask, will this make me fulfilled? It asks, will this keep me safe? And safety, to the nervous system, does not mean happiness, freedom, or purpose. Safety means familiarity. This is why you can stay in situations that drain you. This is why you repeat patterns you consciously hate. This is why the moment something starts to work, you feel the urge to pull back, disappear, or burn it down. It is not coincidence. It is conditioning. If chaos, criticism, emotional instability, or constant pressure were part of your early environment, your system learned something very specific. Intensity equals normal. Struggle equals home. Peace feels suspicious. So when your life begins to stabilize, when progress appears, when success gets close, your system reacts as if a threat has arrived. That threat is not failure. That threat is expansion. This is why self sabotage almost never happens at the beginning. It happens right before the breakthrough, right before momentum builds, right before the old limits are about to be crossed. Suddenly you procrastinate. Suddenly you overthink. Suddenly you feel tired, distracted, emotionally numb, or strangely uninterested in the very thing you wanted for years. You assume something is wrong with you. In reality, something very old inside you is trying to keep you small enough to feel safe. The closer you get to change, the louder the inner critic becomes. Not because you are weak, but because your identity is being threatened. The mind will tell you it is being realistic. The body will tell you it is too much right now. The story will sound logical, but logic is not what is driving this. Fear is. There is another layer most people miss: people pleasing. People pleasing is not kindness. It is not generosity. It is not love. It is a survival strategy. It is the learned belief that connection must be earned by compliance, that safety comes from being agreeable, that belonging requires self erasure. So you manage reactions, you soften your truth, you delay your growth so others don't feel uncomfortable. And the cost is invisible at first, but over time, you begin to feel disconnected from yourself. You cannot tell what you want anymore. Your energy leaks into every direction except your own life. This is why boundaries feel exhausting instead of empowering. You are not just setting limits with people, you are breaking a contract your nervous system once believed was necessary for survival. Then there is overthinking. Overthinking is not intelligence. It is an attempt to control uncertainty. You replay conversations, you simulate futures, you try to eliminate every possible risk before taking one step forward. But life cannot be solved from the mind alone. Clarity is not found by thinking harder. It is found by moving and adapting. The obsession with certainty is not wisdom. It is fear wearing a responsible mask. And finally, there is the most seductive trap of all: someday. Someday feels safe. Someday carries no risk. Someday demands no courage. But someday is where momentum quietly dies. The more overwhelmed you feel, the more attractive later becomes. And the brain loves this illusion because it avoids exposure to discomfort while preserving the fantasy of change. This is how years disappear without transformation. Not through dramatic failure, but through subtle delay. None of these patterns mean you are broken. They mean you are running an outdated operating system, a system built to help you survive pain, rejection, or instability, now attempting to govern a life that requires courage, visibility, and expansion. Until you understand this, you will keep fighting yourself. Once you understand it, the question changes. Not what is wrong with me, but what am I protecting myself from? And is it still necessary? That awareness is the beginning of real change. One of the most powerful reasons people remain stuck is not fear itself, but the stories they tell themselves to justify staying still. These stories sound intelligent, responsible, mature, but they are illusions, and they quietly steal entire lifetimes. The first illusion is the belief that you must have everything figured out before you move. You tell yourself that once you feel ready, once you feel clear, once you feel confident enough, then you will act. But readiness is not a prerequisite for growth. It is a reward that comes after movement. Life does not reveal itself to those who wait for certainty. It reveals itself to those who step forward while unsure. Clarity is not something you find by sitting still and thinking harder. Clarity is created by engagement, by doing, by testing, by being wrong and adjusting. Every meaningful direction in life becomes visible only after you start walking it. The desire for complete certainty is not wisdom. It is fear disguised as responsibility. You call it planning. You call it preparation. But underneath, it is avoidance. Another illusion is the belief that success will fix what you feel inside. You imagine that once you reach a certain level, more money, more recognition, more achievement, something inside you will finally settle. That the emptiness will fade, that the anxiety will quiet, that the doubt will disappear. It doesn't. Success does not heal inner fractures. It magnifies them. If you feel inadequate now, success will make that feeling louder by raising the stakes. If you feel disconnected now, success will isolate you further by putting distance between who you are and who you pretend to be. If you are running from unresolved pain, success will simply give you a faster vehicle to escape until the crash forces you to stop. Hustle becomes an elegant distraction. Productivity becomes a socially approved form of avoidance. And exhaustion is mistaken for purpose. You keep raising the bar, not because you are driven, but because slowing down would force you to feel what you've been avoiding. Then there is the illusion of perfection. You tell yourself you have high standards, that you care about quality, that you want to do things the right way. But perfectionism is not excellence. It is fear. At its core, perfectionism says, if I make a mistake, I am not safe. If I am seen imperfectly, I will be judged. If I fail publicly, I will be rejected. So you delay. You refine endlessly. You wait for conditions that never arrive, and nothing meaningful gets built. Perfection does not exist in the real world. But done does. Movement does. Momentum does. And momentum is what creates growth. You don't learn who you are by avoiding mistakes. You learn who you are by surviving them. Another illusion hides even deeper, the belief that you need more confidence before you begin. Confidence is not something you gather before action. Confidence is built through action, through repetition, through proof earned over time. What you actually need is courage. Courage to be bad at something long enough to become good. Courage to look foolish before you look capable. Courage to be seen trying instead of admired for imagining. Most people rehearse failure in their minds so often that they never risk success in reality. They avoid action not because they doubt their abilities, but because failure threatens their identity. And yet, failure is not a verdict on your worth. It is a requirement for growth. Every person you admire has failed far more times than you can see. They did not avoid failure. They built a relationship with it. They learned to move toward it instead of away from it. The final illusion is subtle but deadly, the belief that there will be a better time. Someday feels comforting. Someday carries no risk. Someday asks nothing of you today. But someday is not a place you arrive at. It is a place where intention goes to die. The brain prefers future safety over present risk. So it convinces you that waiting is wise, that delaying is prudent, that tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow rarely is. If something truly matters, it will demand space in your calendar, not just space in your thoughts. Anything you refuse to schedule, you are quietly admitting you are not ready to prioritize. Illusions do not trap you by force. They trap you by agreement. And the moment you stop believing them, a different question emerges. Not, am I ready? But what am I avoiding by waiting? That question dismantles excuses and brings you face to face with the truth. Growth begins the moment illusion ends. There is a moment in every real transformation that does not look inspiring. It looks like loss. Not the dramatic kind, not the kind that gets applause or sympathy, but the quiet loss of an identity you have outgrown. This is where most people turn back, because letting go is not an abstract idea. It is an internal separation, a breaking of loyalty, a decision to stop protecting a version of yourself that once kept you alive but no longer allows you to live. You don't release the old self because you hate it. You release it because you no longer need it. And that distinction matters. The part of you that stayed small was not wrong. The part of you that avoided conflict was not weak. The part of you that adapted, endured, and survived did exactly what it was designed to do. But survival is not the same as direction. And what protects you in one season will suffocate you in the next. Real change begins when you accept that growth requires something to end. This is why letting go feels like a funeral. Because it is. You are not destroying yourself. You are burying what no longer belongs in your future. This is also why resistance intensifies at this stage. The mind panics, the body tightens, the nervous system interprets release as danger. You may feel guilt for changing. You may feel fear of disappointing others. You may feel grief for who you used to be. None of this means you are doing something wrong. It means you are crossing a threshold. And here is where depth matters. If you do not consciously release the old identity, it will unconsciously continue to run your life. It will whisper in moments of choice. It will sabotage moments of courage. It will pull you back toward what feels familiar, even when familiar hurts. Letting go is not a single decision. It is a daily practice of choosing alignment over comfort. This is where reparenting becomes essential. Inside you is not just an adult making rational decisions. Inside you is also a younger self who learned that safety came from certain behaviors. Silence, compliance, overachievement, control. That younger self does not need criticism, it needs reassurance. Reparenting is the act of becoming the stable presence you once needed. It is meeting fear with calm instead of judgment. It is choosing consistency over self abandonment. It is learning to stay with yourself instead of leaving when discomfort arises. When you do this, something shifts. You stop forcing change through punishment. You stop motivating yourself through fear. You stop demanding perfection as proof of worth. Instead, you begin to build trust with yourself. And from that trust, a new way of living emerges. You act before you feel ready. You adjust instead of retreating. You schedule what matters instead of waiting for motivation, not because you are fearless, but because you are grounded. This is the principle that replaces everything else: action before certainty. You no longer ask for guarantees. You no longer need full visibility of the path. You move forward with partial information, knowing that clarity is generated through engagement, not contemplation. Mistakes no longer define you, they inform you. Failure no longer threatens your identity, it refines it. You accept that growth demands repetition, that confidence is built through evidence, that courage is the willingness to remain present while uncomfortable. And slowly, almost quietly, your life begins to reorganize itself around who you are becoming, not who you were trained to be. The old rules lose their authority. The old fears lose their grip. The old identity loosens its hold. You are no longer dragging your past behind you. You are carrying it with respect, but not obedience. This is what transformation actually looks like. Not a dramatic reinvention, not a sudden breakthrough, but a series of small, honest decisions that align your actions with your truth. You do not become someone else. You become more of yourself, without the weight. And when that happens, the question that once controlled you disappears. Not am I allowed to change, but why did I wait so long to let go? At its core, this journey is not about becoming someone new. It is about releasing what no longer belongs to who you already are. Most people spend their lives trying to fix themselves, improve themselves, or motivate themselves, never realizing that the real work is subtraction, not addition. You were never broken. You were conditioned. You adapted. You survived. And those adaptations carried you far enough to reach this moment. But survival has limits. What once protected you can quietly imprison you. Old identities, inherited fears, and familiar coping mechanisms do not announce when they expire. They simply grow heavier. And the longer you carry them, the more effort life requires just to stay in place. True growth begins the moment you stop asking for permission to evolve. It begins when you accept discomfort as evidence of expansion, not as a warning sign. When you choose courage over certainty, action over overthinking, presence over postponement. Letting go is not erasing your past. It is honoring it without letting it decide your future. When you stop dragging old versions of yourself forward, momentum returns naturally. Energy comes back. Clarity follows action. And life starts responding differently. Not because the world changed, but because you did. This is not a dramatic transformation. It is a quiet alignment, and it changes everything. The lesson and how to apply it. The lesson is simple but demanding. Growth requires release. Identify one belief, habit, or role that once kept you safe, but now keeps you small. Acknowledge it. Thank it. Then act once this week without it. Take a step before you feel ready. Schedule what matters. Let evidence build confidence. Question for you. What do you feel you need to let go of most right now? An old belief, an old role, or an old fear? Please share your answer in the comments so others can learn from your perspective. If this video resonated with you, please subscribe to American Wall Street to support the channel and motivate us to keep creating deeper, more meaningful content for you.